Reported speech is when we talk about what someone said in the past, and the verbs we use for it are called reporting verbs. Ones like say, tell, ask, recommend, advise, warn, promise, and more. But there are some important little details to remember about the sentence structure when using each of these reporting verbs, so a lot of English learners make mistakes with them. Today I'll teach you 30 common reporting verbs and the correct ways to use them in a sentence. I'd recommend downloading the PDF guide to this lesson so that you can review and remember all these reporting verbs and sentences. You can get it by clicking on the link in the video description and entering your email address to receive the free guide. I've organized these reporting verbs into a few categories. Most common reporting verbs for advice, for arguments and strong feelings, for statements, and finally, other reporting verbs. We'll start with the most common ones. Say, or say that. Using the word that is optional after say. So we could say, Bob said he was happy, or Bob said that he was happy. But don't say, Bob said me that he was happy. That's not correct. Instead, we can use the reporting verb tell someone that. So after the word tell, we must always have a person. Jane told me she had worked late, or Jane told me that she had worked late. Again, the word that is optional. We could also use tell someone to for giving an order or command. My mom told me to clean my room. My dad told me not to play with fire. Another common reporting verb is ask. In the structures, ask someone if or whether, and ask someone plus a question word. So we use the first one for yes or no questions. They asked the teacher if or whether there was any homework. The answer to that is yes or no. And for all other questions, we use the structure with a question word. He asked me what time it was. She asked us how to get to the train station. They asked the police officer why the road was closed. Now avoid this common error. They asked to the police officer. No, we just have ask plus the person. We could also use ask someone to for requesting action from the other person. She asked me to close the door. That's a request. Or she asked me not to leave the door open. That's a negative request. Let's look at reporting verbs for advice. We have the word recommend. That is followed by an ing form or that. I recommend staying in this hotel. Or I recommend that you stay in this hotel. A similar one is suggest. He suggested taking an early train, or he suggested that I take an early train. Those two are correct, but avoid this common error. He suggested me to take an early train. That's not correct. It doesn't sound natural. We use the reporting verb warn to warn people about potentially dangerous things. We can warn someone about something or warn someone not to do something. They warned us about the high prices in San Francisco. They warned us not to move to San Francisco. We also use the verb advise for giving advice. So remember, advise is pronounced with a Z sound and advice is pronounced with a S sound. She advised me to start the assignment early. Or she advised me not to wait until the last minute. After advised, we have a person who receives the advice. Next, we've got encourage in the structure, encourage someone to do something. So we usually use it for suggesting positive things. My parents encouraged me to take swimming lessons. Our next category is reporting verbs for arguments and strong feelings. We have admit that. So if you admit something, it means you acknowledge a mistake or an unpleasant fact. He admitted that he'd stolen the money. We also have argue that or argue about. The word argue can mean to try to persuade other people that your opinion is correct, or it can mean to have an angry verbal conflict. So look at these two examples. The lawyer argued that his client didn't know he was breaking the law. In that example, the lawyer is trying to persuade or convince people. My parents are arguing about where to spend our family vacation. In this case, we're talking about a verbal conflict. Our next reporting verb is agree that. For example, the boss agreed that we should invest more in employee training. Now avoid this common error. Don't say I'm agree. The correct sentence is I agree. That's more common. Or I'm in agreement. That would be more formal. Next, we have claim plus the optional that. We use this to describe things we state are true, but other people might doubt that we are telling the truth. For example, she claimed that she'd locked the door, or she claimed she'd locked the door. Our next one is complain. Complain that or complain about. Complain means to say something negative because you are annoyed or disappointed about it. For example, we complained that the hotel room was too hot, or we complained about the temperature in the hotel room. Then we have deny that. If you deny something, it means you say it is not true. He denied that he was responsible. Insist that or insist on. The verb insist means to strongly say something is true or strongly say you will do something despite other people trying to contradict you. So, I insisted that I was innocent. She insisted on paying for my drink. Next, we have swear that or swear to. When used like this, it means to say something with extremely strong certainty, not to say bad words. For example, he swore that he'd left his wallet on the table, meaning he said it with 100% certainty. Or he swore to get revenge. This means he is promising 100% to get revenge. And finally, threaten to. This means to say you will do something bad to another person. The manager threatened to fire me. Our reporting verbs for statements include explain. We can explain that, explain a noun to someone, or explain plus a question word. The receptionist explained that the doctor was out to lunch. Can you explain this math problem to me? He explained how he'd built his own house. Now avoid the common error of saying she explained me or I explained him. We never have a person immediately after the verb explain. Our next one for statements is state. State that. The politician stated that he was in favor of immigration. It's the same thing as say, said that. We have reply that. When I asked her about the project, she replied that she didn't know anything. Again, don't say she replied me that. We never have a person immediately after the verb reply. Mention. The verb mention means to say something quickly or to say something that is not so important to the main topic. He mentioned that he'd put gas in the car. We have announce that. The teacher announced that everyone had passed the test. Our next category is reporting verbs for giving orders. So we have command someone to. The officer commanded the soldier to clean the room. We also have demand. Demand that or demand plus a noun. My sister demanded that I give her an answer. Or my sister demanded an answer. But don't say demanded me. That would not be correct. And forbid someone to do something. This verb means to prohibit someone from doing something, not to allow them. For example, we forbade our kids to use the computer without supervision. It means we didn't allow it. In our last category, we have some other reporting verbs that didn't fall into any of the others, like boast. Boast means to arrogantly say good things about yourself or your accomplishments. We have boast that. He boasted that he always got the best grades in the class. Propose that. Propose can be used for making suggestions. It's a little more formal. She proposed that we take a 10-minute break. Or we could also say, she suggested that we take a 10-minute break. Reveal that. When we reveal something, we say something that was previously a secret, or information that is sensitive or not very well known. For example, in the interview, he revealed that he struggled with self-esteem. Guarantee that. If you guarantee that something is the case, it means you promise that it is true. We guarantee that our products are made from high-quality materials. And of course, we have promise that or promise to. You promised that you'd help me, or you promised you'd help me, or you promised to help me. All correct ways of saying the same thing. Another one is beg, when we're asking someone with a lot of emotion. Beg someone to or for. I'm begging you to reconsider, or I'm begging you for another chance. Remind someone to or remind someone that. She reminded me to go to the bank, or she reminded me that the bank is closed on Sundays. Avoid the common error of saying she remembered me to go. It should be reminded. Now you know 30 reporting verbs and how to use them correctly in sentences. And I challenge you to create your own sentence with each one. Can you do it? Remember to download the free PDF guide to this lesson. And if you want to take the next step in advancing your English grammar, I've got a course just for you. It's my Advanced English Grammar course, and it makes even complex grammar topics clear. Visit my website, espressoenglish.net, to learn more and sign up.